Do you believe that the galactic emperor called Zeno, who brought his people to Earth 75 million years ago and buried them in volcanoes?
Okay.
Do you believe that?
Martin, I am not going to discuss the disgusting perversions of Scientology beliefs that can be found now commonly on the internet and be put in the position of talking about things talking about things that are so fundamentally offensive to Scientologists to discuss. That's
well, I have the burden of my own journalistic responsibility that I bring to this meeting, and I hope that I've been appropriately respectful of you in my asking of the questions.
Well, you haven't, to the degree that the question that you asked me, you know, by virtue of the fact that it's been made very clear in other media entities that it's something that we consider offensive. And it is in violation of my religious beliefs to talk about them.
So just for clarification, do you personally believe...
I'm going to stop you. If you're going to ask me that question again, and you're going to repeat things about volcanoes and this kind of thing and so on and so forth, I will stand up and walk out, Martin, because what you're doing by doing that is you are intentionally asking me things which you know I find offensive, and you're insisting on asking me of them. So I'm asking you one more time.
Mr. Davis, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm just trying to ask you a series of questions about the public faith that you have. I'm not trying to mock you. I'm trying to understand what your beliefs are.
Sure.
You've explained what auditing is. You've explained the growth of the church. You've done all of those things.
Sure.
I am asking you in the context of those questions, is it true that L. Ron Hubbard said that understanding the origins of the human race as described through Zeno and the intergalactic emperor, is it true that somebody would die and... We met Gavin, and it was a great privilege to meet Gavin because he's had a lot of suffering in his life.
Yeah.
When Gavin was there, he talked about the fact that he shares your bedroom.
Yes.
Can you understand why people would worry about that?
Because they're ignorant.
But is it really appropriate for a 44-year-old man to share a bedroom with a child who is not related to him at all?
That's a beautiful thing.
That's not a worrying thing?
Why should they be worrying? Who's the criminal? Who's Jack the Ripper in the room? This is a guy trying to help heal a child. I'm sleeping in a sleeping bag on the floor. I gave him the bed because he has a brother named Star. So him and Star took the bed, and I'm on the floor in the sleeping bag.
Did you ever sleep in the bed with them?
No. But I have slept in a bed with many children. I sleep in the bed with all of them. When Macaulay Culkin were little, Kieran Culkin would sleep on this side, Macaulay Culkin's on this side, his sister's in there. We're all just jamming the bed. And we'd wake up like dawn and go in the hot air balloon. You know, we have the footage. I have all that footage.
But is that right, Michael?
It's very right. It's very loving. That's what the world needs now. More love, more.
The world needs
heart.
a man who's 44 sleeping in a bed with children.
No, you're making it all wrong.
Well, tell me, help me.
Because what's wrong with sharing a love? You don't sleep with your kids or some other kid who needs love, who didn't have a good childhood?
No, I don't. I would never dream of sleeping. I would never dream.
Because you've never been where I've been, mentally.
What do you think people would say if I said, well, I've invited some of my daughter's friends round or my son's friends round and they're going to sleep in the bed with me tonight?
That's fine.
What do you think their parents would say?
If they're wacky, they would say you can't. But if you're a close family, like your family, you know them well, and
But Michael, I wouldn't like my children to sleep in anybody else's bed.
Well, I wouldn't mind if I knew the person well, and if I'm very close to Barry Gibb, Paris and Prince can stay with him anytime. My children sleep with other people all the time.
And you're happy with that?
I'm fine with it. They're honest. They're sweet people. They're not Jack the Ripper.
I suppose the problem for many people is what happened in 1993, or what didn't happen.
What didn't happen?
Just cast your mind back. What was that like when you first heard the allegations that were being made against you?
It was shocking, and I'm not allowed to talk about this by way of law. So,
but how did you feel about what was being said? I'm not asking you to talk about what was said.
I was shocked because God knows in my heart how much I adore children.
But isn't that precisely the problem? That when you actually invite children into your bed, you never know what's going to happen.
But when you say bed, you're thinking sexual. They make that sexual. It's not sexual. But we're going to sleep. I tuck them in. I put a little music on, and do a little story time. I read a book. It's very sweet. Put the fireplace on. Give them hot milk. We have little cookies. It's very charming. Very sweet.
Sure.
It's what the whole world should do.
The reason that's been given for why you didn't go to jail was because you reached a financial settlement with the family.
Yeah. I don't want to do a long, drawn-out thing on TV like OJ and all that stupid stuff. It wouldn't look right. I just said, look, get this over with. I want to go on with my life. It's just ridiculous. I've had enough. Go.
I questioned him much further.
NBC will not show those videos.
Andrew, let's just stay focused. You said in your original text in that video, Miss Sherrod, I'm quoting you, admits that she discriminates against people due to their race.
Precisely, yes.
That's what I...
In the piece she did, and the audience reacted.
Please allow me to explain what I'm going to put to you. That was the diametric opposite truth of what she said. What she actually said was that she went on to go out of her way to assist, and her experience was an example of not discriminating on the basis of race. Why do you put Miss Sherrod admits that she discriminates against people due to their race? That's a deliberate misrepresentation of the truth.
I wrote in the piece that eventually her basic humanity informs her to help the white farmer.
Andrew,
and I kept
quoting your words.
Yes, and read the rest of the piece.
How can you claim in your book to be so committed to truth-telling?
I just told you the
How
truth.
can you do that
just told you the
when
truth.
You publish something?
You don't want to hear what I just told you.
I'm listening to you, sir.
I told you, eventually her basic humanity informed her to help the white farmer, and I kept in the part of the arc. The whole point was to show that the NAACP has no right to judge the Tea Party on racism if it can't keep its own house in order. That was the point of it. That was the point of the clip.
So if your work was so balanced, why was she forced to resign?
Who said that it was balanced?
That's what you're just arguing.
I'm not. I came with a point to show that the NAACP was in no position to judge the Tea Party. That is exactly what happened. And listen to me. Nobody went after President Obama.
Even Glenn, can I explain?
Yes.
Even Glenn Beck, who happily believes the notion that an Islamic caliphate is being constructed, in his words, from New Zealand to Nairobi, even he says that you deliberately misrepresented.
Well, he's lying, and the reason why he did.
He's right, isn't he?
He insinuated on the.
You misrepresented it.
Do you want me to answer the question?
Please do. Did you misrepresent it?
I'm answering. Listen to me. Glenn Beck said Andrew needs to apologize. He insinuated that he didn't touch the story. They said that the reason why the White House fired her was because they were worried that that this was going to be on the Glenn Beck show. Glenn Beck, in fact, ripped into Shirley Sherrod in his morning radio show. He was the one that diverted the attention away from the context, which was the NAACP angle, and made it about Shirley Sherrod. And on the air, he cut out the part where she said that I kept in the video that said it's not about black versus white, it's about rich versus poor, which is her redemptive arc, which was in the piece that said eventually her humanity informed her to help the white farmer. Answer me why the President of the United States, when he was told that she helped the white farmer, did not rehire her. It took another day for that to happen. The reason why this happened, MSNBC told me. They said Andrew Breitbart was responsible for black farmers in the Pigford lawsuit.
Let's go back to your
book.
book.
You don't want to know the truth.
Of course I do, Andrew. Let's go back to the book. In the book, you say that one of the biggest influences on your intellectual and social development is a man you call Professor Rush Limbaugh. Is that right?
Yes, he was very influential.
Okay. Now, you know that Mr. Limbaugh quite recently did some would call humorous, others would say offensive impersonation of the Prime Minister of China. You also have asked Kevin Pezzi to write for BigGovernment.com.
Oh my gosh, you really are getting your Media Matters talking points.
Can I just go with you to this?
Once I found out about who Kevin Pezzi was, he submitted a piece.
Can I just?
He submitted a piece. The second we found out about him, we got rid of him.
Allow me to finish. Mr. Pezzi, as you know, likes to use racist epithets like Japs and Chinks. He also maintains that African Americans should be grateful for being subjugated.
That's deplorable. It's deplorable. It's deplorable. It's deplorable, Martin. Why are you doing guilt by association?
Because here's the point I'm trying to make.
You're selectively editing out the fact that I got rid of him once I found out about that. I had never met him before, and he submitted an article, and you are selectively editing history right now.
Allow me to take you back to what I was just saying. You take 136 seconds and post it. You then employ an individual who takes views like that, or use an individual who has views.
He was a blogger.
Sorry, forgive me. You use his views, and now you just said you fired him. You just said
I didn't fire him.
That's what you just said.
He was a blogger who posted something at my site. Once I found out what this guy was about, I got rid of him immediately, and I took the piece off of the site. You want to do guilt by association?
No, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to follow the narrative of your own book, and what I'm saying is we have.
What have I not told the truth about? What have I not told the truth about?
We've had Rush Limbaugh.
What have I not told the truth about? What have I not told the truth about? You started this off.
I want to ask you a question.
What have I not told the truth about?
Let me ask you a question. This week, Marilyn Davenport, Republican official in Orange County, sent an email to a number of colleagues featuring President Obama dressed and in a family of apes.
Are you asking me about this? What do I have to do with it?
I want to ask you, what do you think of that image?
It's deplorable. It's deplorable. It's reprehensible, and you're trying to insinuate that I'm a racist here, which is what MSNBC does to conservatives every single day. This entire context of this conversation is what the NAACP and what the Democratic Party has been doing to the Tea Party for the last year.
I haven't spoken to anyone.
The entire context of this, the subtext of this interview.
Why didn't you, when you published Shirley Sherrod's comments, the 136 seconds, and your voluminous...
And I honestly say I'm not the most successful at,
What do you mean by that?
As far as I feel like my kids deserve more personal time from me.
You've talked about wanting to be the Black James Bond. You've talked about wanting to be someone that kids want to emulate. Yet, aren't you setting a bad example by being a man with multiple children and multiple mothers?
I think it depends on how you look at it. All of my kids are well taken care of. They all go to the best schools.
But you don't live with them.
All of the mothers are taken care of financially, and I'm there for my children as a father. I live the good life because my dad is Diddy. That's what I'm talking about.
It's perfectly true that Diddy takes care of his family financially.
The prince has arrived.
Witness the birthday party he threw for his son Justin's 16th birthday, shot by MTV for the reality show My Super Sweet 16.
This is the best birthday ever.
Do you think it was appropriate to buy your 16-year-old son a Maybach car worth almost $400,000?
Yeah, I think it's appropriate for me to give my kids whatever I want to give my kids.
Do you think that was a sensible lesson for a child?
I feel the way that I raised my children, I don't have to explain to you or anybody else because nobody knows the way I raised my children.
Do you think that was a valuable lesson, though, for a child to learn the meaning of money?
No,
to give a child a car with a chauffeur worth $400,000?
It wasn't even about a lesson. It's what I wanted to do. I could do whatever I want to do with my children, and you can't question me about it. Nobody could question me about what I do with my children.
Moving quickly on, Diddy is currently starring in the movie this week in the way it began, with America's resident dunce, Sarah Palin, scraping the barrel of her long-deceased mind and using her all-time favourite analogy in an attempt to sound intelligent about the national debt.
Our free stuff today is being paid for by taking